Okay, I think we're recording here. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this to the side. How do you minimize? There we go. Here we go. All right. So
You're also going to have to share this.
I'm going to have to share. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, that is right. Where are we now? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let's do, okay, here we go. All right, so yeah, today we're going to talk about proportional size density. And so it is like the most commonly used index by fisheries managers. And so up here at the top, it says, what is an index? Well, an index is used to summarize large amounts of information into an interpretable number. It's also used to act as a surrogate for data that are time consuming or expensive to collect. So for example, we often use the number of fish caught per hour of electrofishing as an index to population density. So when we say index, you know, like this is a value that is summarizing a natural populations data set, right? So with an index, we've got both pros and cons of using an index in place of raw data. So one of the pros, like in this example, is talking about how it takes less time, it's easier to interpret, right? But what would be some of the cons of going from a large data set to just a single value to represent that data set? What do we lose?
Less descriptive of the data, like it's useful and easier to work with, but like less, I guess, accurate.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. So we're losing the variability, right? We're losing the nuance to the data, some of the accuracy. Very good. Okay, so here's the equation to calculate proportional size density. And so this little PSDX is just indicating the length category of interest. So we'll learn about the different length categories. And so you calculate it as the number of fish are greater than or equal to a specified length divided by the number of fish greater than or equal to minimum stock length times 100. So for example, let's say we've got largemouth bass. The minimum stock length would be 8 inches or 200 millimeters, and the minimum quality length would be 12 inches or 300 millimeters. And so it notes that minimum lengths, all quality length fish are also stock length fish. So this is kind of weird. So like the level above is also considered like at least a quality fish. So we'll have to keep those in mind when we add up the values. I'll show you in a second. And then also PSD is unitless and it's always rounded to the nearest whole digit. Okay, so for example, the PSD of a quality length for largemouth bass. So we've got stock length, 60 fish. We've got quality length, 40 fish. So the PSDQ, or the quality, would be 40 fish divided by 60 plus 40 times 100. So we get 40. And so if you're wondering, where did stock and quality lengths originate? You see, we've got these provided values for largemouth bass. That wasn't something that we found ourselves. That's something that's calculated out in a table. And so basically, like these tables were developed, we'll have some papers like cited in here. And actually your textbook, I forget which chapter it is, but I have it listed in the syllabus, goes through the history of calculating PSDs and how you get that. So basically, you take this, they have like world record length, right? So we've got data for like what are typical fish for that species, and then what is the world record largest for that species, and that would be like in the trophy category, right? And so the stock length for bass is 20 to 26% of the world record length, and then quality would be within the 36 to 41% of world record length. And so when we say that the minimum stock length, here are some definitions for that. So it's the approximate length at maturity, a minimum length effectively sampled by traditional gears, or a minimum length of fish that provides some kind of recreational value. Then at the quality length, this is often the length at which anglers start to keep fish, but that can be variable depending on management strategies. So for example, let's say we've got a largemouth bass population, and here's the description from the PSD values. So if you have a largemouth bass PSD of less than 40, your population is kind of stunted. It's dominated by small fish. If you had one from 40 to 70, that's considered balanced. So that's something that would be generally good, you know, for fisheries managers if you were in the balanced range. If you had a PSD greater than 70, it would mean that it's skewed towards large fish. Like you've got a whole bunch of older, larger fish, but not that many smaller ones. So your recruitment might actually be a problem. And so this is just a way that we can kind of quantify like how good, like, are you shifted towards small or large fish for a particular population within a particular body of water. All right, so here's an example from a paper by Gablehouse for bluegill size structure. And so both of the following bluegill population samples have a PSD of 61. However, the size structure is substantially different. So you see in population A, we've got 39 fish from 3 to 5.9 inches. We've got 61 from 6 to 7.9, and then none above 8 inches. Whereas in population B, we're more balanced. We've got 39 little ones, 25 in the middle range, and 35 in that range. And these both come out to a PSD of 61. So we're gonna go ahead and calculate these. Did your guys' like load weirdly like this? For some reason, I don't know why the 1 is over here. I'm a little confused. Oh, this was supposed to be greater than 10 inches. There we go, like that. Sorry, just noticed why that was weird. Okay. Oh my gosh. Well, anyhow, that's they're kind of off there. But so basically, so that you guys kind of see how like one population is shifted towards small ones, but because of the difference in numbers between the two samples, it balances out to the same PSD of 61. Does that kind of make sense? So it's still calculated the same way for each of those populations. It's so you can have similar PSDs with different combinations of population sizes for each of those categories. So we're going to go ahead. Let's calculate. So we've got the specified length of bluegill in this example is 8 inches. So what is the quality PSDQ of population A? And what is the PSDQ of population B using that threshold of 8 inches? There we go, zoomed out so you guys can see that. All right, anybody got some values? Still working? Remember that it's got to be greater than or equal to the specified length of 8 inches. What's that? 0 and 36. Yep. Yep. So again, so we did that because there were 0 fish for population A that were greater than or equal to 8 inches versus there were 36 over here that were greater than or equal to, and then times 100. So that's how we got 36. Okay, as an angler, which pond would you rather fish based on PSDQ and why? On B, yeah, because there's a greater PSD, like proportional size density of the quality length bluegill in population B. All right, I'm not sure why this says PSD 8, because that's basically like the same thing, the 8 inches thing, population A and B. So don't worry about that. Okay, so now, did your guys just download like this?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what happened to those. Like, if we look at, okay, I guess that's how it was in here. Really weird. Interesting. Okay, so it says use these data on large enough bass lengths from a pond survey to calculate the and answer the questions below. See the table below for stock and quality length bass. All right, so I think that these were supposed to be the corresponding values. So let me just like create a table of these really quickly. That's really annoying that it didn't save like that. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my gosh. 11, 12, 13, and that corresponding number was 4, 3, 4, 5, 2. Okay. Oh no, that 4, 2. Sorry guys, this is really hard to read. We'll just do 13 through 13 here because this is really confusing. Okay, 4, 5, 4, 2, 4, 2. I think I did those right. Let's just use those values. Forget all of this mess. What a mess. Okay. Okay, so first question. A largemouth bass at length 15 inches belongs to what length category? Let's forget that. Let's say a largemouth bass at 12 inches. And why would it be quality? So 8 isn't our, yeah, 8 was our bluegill. So let's see here. What was the largemouth bass? And the last one, well, it says our quality range for bass is 12 to 19 inches based on like the actual like published value. So so yeah, just forget that one. But basically, like, let's see here. What's the PSDQ? It's a PSD 15. Interesting. Yeah, forget that. Let's just move on for that. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. This is weird. There's like a lot of, I don't know what happened when Garrett last uploaded these. Like I got a modified file from Keith, but basically we're gonna go ahead and just look at this, this cell model here. This one proposed by Gablehouse in 1984. He developed a technique to enable us fisheries biologists to better assess size structure. And so this kind of helps increase sensitivity of these indices. And so he defined minimum stock, quality preferred, memorable, and trophy lengths using a fish quality index. And so kind of like we talked about, it's based on world record length for a species. So 20 to 25% of world record length for a species would be stock. All the way up to trophy would be 74 to 80% of the world record for a species. And that would include anything above that 80%, basically 80% to 100 would also technically be included in the trophy category. And so we kind of define that as like, you know, stock is like the baseline for fish that might recruit, you know, like an adult fish. Quality tends to be the minimum length harvested by anglers. Preferred would be, if given a choice, anglers would prefer to catch that length of fish. Anglers will remember catching a fish of the memorable category, and then a true trophy fish would be, you know, like 74 to 80% of the world record. So if you're a manager for, you know, like some kind of trophy sport fish, like bass or like a blue catfish, if you had a population that had some numbers of memorable and trophy fish, you'd be pretty happy with that population. All right, so here's what we needed actually. So here's these length categories proposed for various fish species. So this is all total length for each category in inches, mind you, in inches. And so that's all total lengths. And then English units, E are in inches, metric units are in centimeter. So it's got stock, quality, preferred, memorable, and trophy for all these species. So let's see here. let's take these values that were up here, pretend that they're not largemouth bass, pretend that instead they are, oh, we're gonna say rock bass. So let's do these for rock bass and calculate these values. That's right. All right, maybe that was a bad example. You guys get like, there are 26 of them that they're all stock length, and then like the quality, all but like the ones at 6 inches, so all but 4 of them would be quality length. So not a very fun sample, but basically, so then your PSDQ, right, would be the number of specified length. So your like 22 or whatever divided by your number of fish greater than or equal to the minimum stock length, which would be 4. So all of them would meet that out of 26, right? So whatever 22 divided by 26 times 100 is, everybody's got a calculator on them, that would be your PSDQ. So 26, so like 84. So that's a really high one. Okay, so rough example here, but do you guys kind of get the feel for like how we're calculating this? Pretty straightforward. It definitely, like, compared to the previous like examples at the top there, once you have this table, like we're not going to ask on any exams, like we're not going to do anything where we don't give you a table like this. Like fisheries managers, we always have at our disposal a table to see like what are stock length versus what are trophy level fish. So it's not like you need to memorize any of these. Heck, I don't have like any of these memorized except like gizzard shad. So yeah, so we'll have these to work with here. Okay, so now we're going to talk about traditional versus incremental PSDs. So we just did examples with traditional PSDs, whereas incremental, you can kind of think of as like ranges. And so a general rule of thumb for choosing between these is that traditional is best for comparisons among impoundments, because it lessens the effect of a particular like year class's strength. And so if you, for example, for my research, I'm working in 12 different small impoundments around the state of Kansas. So if I wanted to compare for a particular species like largemouth bass, let's say, I would want to use a traditional PSD to compare across all 12 of those. For an individual population, if you want to see the effects of variable year class strength within, like, let's say we're looking just at river pond, we would use an incremental PSD. And so this question, what type of PSD, traditional or incremental, is most often used in the field of fish management? What do you guys think that would be? What do we use more often? Yeah, for sure. So like most fisheries biologists aren't just managing a single impoundment or lake, they're managing like multiple waters, right? So you want to be able to compare, we always want to be able to compare our lakes with other lakes managed by other people, right? Or compare with like other states. And so using a traditional one is just, it's much more readily usable to compare. But it's still good that we understand incremental calculations. And so basically this one, you can think of it as the same thing, like the whole greater than or equal to thing, but this is basically now just ranges. So for example, if we wanted to use the largemouth bass length categories, the PSD of stock through quality, so the S-Q value here, would be the number of them between stock length and quality divided by the number greater than, not equal to, just greater than your stock length. So you don't include the stock length with that times 100. And same thing going on. So like for the quality to preferred, it would be the number of them that are in that range of quality to preferred, and then divide that by the number greater than the stock length times 100. Whereas like we said, for these traditional PSD calculations, it's like the number greater than or equal to those values. These, there's not an equal to sign in there. So this is like not well done here. But basically, yeah, so it's kind of like the incrementals are just a range, whereas PSDs, it's like a set greater than or equal to value. Okay, hopefully this exercise will work. I haven't tested this one yet, so my apologies. So it's asking you to calculate the requested stock density indices for both walleye populations, which were sampled with gill nets from Milford Reservoir in 2000 and 2004. The minimum lengths for walleye are as follows. So we've got stock is 250, quality 380, preferred 510, memorable 630, and trophy is 760. And so first calculate those incrementals and then calculate the traditionals. And then go ahead and answer these questions over here on the right about the sums. So I'll give you guys 5 minutes to work on this now. What's that? So we're going to be doing both, right? So see at the bottom where it's asking you to calculate down here, the PSD S through Q, Q through P, P through M, and M through T, that's the incremental. So first you're going to calculate the incremental ones, and then those blanks below, you're going to calculate the traditional. Did anybody else get those first values for the PSD stock 3 quality? 35.13 and then 33.46 for 2004. Everybody understand how I did that? Okay. Okay, my rounding might be a little bit off, but don't worry. As long as you're like within the 35 compared to 33, like this one should be smaller. Hey, everybody get that? So basically, like I did that by taking so the number that are like stock to quality. So like all of them that are from this line, this 250 to 274. So start adding here, this line, this line, this line, this line, but stop at 2, right? Okay, yep. And so don't include the quality. Yeah, I was off by a decimal point there because I included those 5 accidentally at those, my blindness, but it's still like 35. Okay, so you like add those all together and then you divide that number by the value that's greater than stock length. So literally if stock length is 250, like just add everything except its first value of 3 and we should get 74. So when you divide like that, like 21 divided by 74, you should get a value somewhere in this range, right? Does that make sense? Versus for 2004, should have had like, you know, the number that are less than stock length would be, you've got like 2 here that aren't. And then the rest of that is, you've got like, if you add it up, it's like 54 or something like that that are greater, 74 that are greater than stock length in here. So that's how I got that value. Actually, that might be totally right. Wow. Don't trust my math on anything. It's like really sad that I have to teach you guys like coding and math because these are like definitely not my strong suits. So I really appreciate your patience with me as I calculate things wrong. And feel free to correct me at any time. I won't be mad. Oh, and I already made a mistake here. See how I did decimals? You're supposed to round up or down to the nearest value. So you should just like forget about the decimals for those. I should get it at 51. I think that's more accurate. Hopefully I did that right.
Real fast, how many fish do you have in the 2000? Like total number of fish?
Oh, total number of fish. I got.
So it's 86 because you should subtract 3 out because it's not 250.
Right. So you're talking about like the total that you add up or whatever for S?
Greater than S.
Greater than S. Okay. Plus 1 plus 2 plus 5 plus 11 plus 4 plus 2 plus 8 plus 6 plus 5. plus 8 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 4. I got 86. Okay, yeah, that's what I divided by. So that's probably why my value's off. Did you actually get one of 24?
Yeah. I got
Okay,
24.
yep. I think my math is
I
finally
was
correct
like,
there.
I threw it into Excel.
That was very wise of you. That is actually a great idea. Let's see. Anybody else get those values or something close to that for the range? Okay, cool. And then you guys have your traditionals yet? No, okay. It's okay, nor do I. This is a good refresher for me as well. All right. How are we doing? Okay-ish. Anybody get anything close to these values for the traditional ones? Yeah? See some nods. Good deal. So then we've got a question up here for the sum of the all of the incremental PSDs. So we'll do two values, one of them for the 2000 and one of them for 2004. All right. Anybody get 99 and 100? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now this is a good question. So which year had more large walleye in Milford Reservoir? And which indices did you use to provide evidence to support your conclusion? So which year had more large walleye? Just based on, you can kind of glance at just the raw values alone should give us a pretty clear indicator, right? So 2000 definitely had like more large walleye. But like which of these values gave us like the most stark indicator of the difference, right? So really like both the incremental and the traditional, like all of the 2000 ones tend to be higher, right? But especially these like the traditional ones, you know, when we're comparing, like we would probably want to use incremental if we're comparing within the same reservoir, right? If we're not comparing among years. But for these preferred through memorable and memorable through trophies, for 2000, we just see like 31.9 versus 1 and 4. It's pretty stark. So probably the incrementals would be better to use in that situation. All right. Now it says, let's assume that assume that maybe it's your first column of data. So the 2000 column were from year 2000 from Council Grove Reservoir, whereas the second column of data, 2004, were from year 2000 as well, but from Tuttle Creek. Which impoundment has more large walleye? Which indices provide evidence for your conclusion? Okay, so this is, I kind of already like gave it away, like what we're comparing here. But now we would use the traditional indices, right? Because we're comparing among two different impoundments. So we'd use the traditional ones. And so using these traditional ones, same values, right? Nothing's changed. Still same song and dance. The values from the first column, so that Council Grove would have more large walleye. Okay. Is that clear as mud? Sorry, I stumbled my way through that. Hopefully it kind of makes sense a little bit. None of our examples are going to be like that messy as what we did from like the beginning. But if we have you do this on an exam or a quiz, we will give you all of these values. But definitely, like, I want you to be able to tell the difference between an incremental and a traditional PSD, right? And also be able to answer like why we use the traditional to compare across impoundments versus like remembering that we use the incremental to compare within. Okay, so now we're going to use our Tallgrass Prairie data. So hopefully you guys already have this Lab 4 bass data downloaded. So this one has bins. I think this is the one we're supposed to use. Okay, so it says download and open. This data is slightly modified to remove recaptured fish, so we don't count those individuals twice. So it's saying assess the size density of largemouth bass in pond 24 using the data collected earlier this semester. And this is actually 2018 data, I think. Where was this news data? Yeah, I think this is all 2016 data. Okay. First, so we're going to have to sort out the data to make it easier to read. And so under this data tab, we're going to go to the sort function. So data, go to, where is it on here? Sort. And so you can sort by So column B would be date, right? So you can sort, should all be in order now, sorted. Next up, so it's saying, oh, sorry, we're supposed to sort these by total length. All right, so we can change those. So instead, we can sort by column C. So now they should all be sorted. Oops, here, let's delete this. Oh, weird. All right, I'm gonna start from scratch. Don't say that, my bad. Apologies, apologies. Okay. There we go. Expand that a little bit. All right, so we go to data, sort, speed by total length. Okay, so now we're sorted, and you can like switch the values. So you guys see these little buttons right here where it goes A to Z versus Z to A. So you can, oh, I guess that doesn't happen when you're in here, but you can order them in here. You can go like smallest to largest, or you can go largest to small. Well, that didn't work the way that it was supposed to, but you should be able to go, if you do like a custom list, like 1 to whatever, increasing or decreasing. For some reason, I can't get that to go. But you should be able to filter them and like change the order up or down. Okay, sort largest to smallest versus, there we go. So it's just within that. It's a little bit different. That one, the functions up top were for if you were gonna like alphabetize stuff. So numeric versus alphanumeric. Okay, so now that we've got them sorted, our instructions say convert total length from millimeters to centimeters. So how do we go about and do that? Right. Yep. This divided by 10, right? Just pull all that down. So now we converted our millimeters to centimeters. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? Now use the histogram function to put the fish into length categories. So we have to define bin sizes. So we're gonna put the appropriate bin sizes in a blank column on the same Excel sheet as the data. So we're gonna do bins. So let's see here. If you guys already downloaded the like ones that have the bins on it, let's see, what were the bin things here? So the bins were 20, 30. That get modified? Anybody? Okay. So this is how we went about doing that. I think this is the one I was working in here. So, so this is going to be like, this is just counting. If we go ahead and do insert pivot table, actually, this should have better instructions here. Okay, goes to data, data analysis, histogram. This. Sorry, my data analysis isn't showing up. Do you guys find where that was at in yours?
Should be data.
Mm.
Yeah, you mean you have downloaded?
I must not have it downloaded on this one. I thought I used to. I have to data. Let's just add in. Is it the analysis 2-fac? 2-fac? I think so. Should be. Okay. There we go. Man, I must have like updated that. Okay, so now if we go to histogram, I was wondering where that was. So input range will be this column, then the bin range will be right here. Okay. Oops, my bad. Cancel. Histogram. So bin range has to be just these values, not the title. And then, yeah, these guys have to be right there. Okay.
I don't think you can have the, so I think it needs to be 20, 30, 38, 51, 60, 30.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You can't have the dashes or the pluses, because it's a non-numerical value.
Oh, okay, interesting. Let's see if we do something like that. So you did just like
20, 30, 38, 51.
63. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So if we do data analysis, try that again. Okay, that should still be the first one. Right there. Try that now. Okay. So that gives us, that's how Trevor got that frequency here. So now we've got the frequency. Okay, so let's see here. We've got our values. So based on this output here, should we use an incremental or traditional PSD values when assessing this pond if we wanted to compare it to fish caught 4 years ago? What do you guys think?
Within the same time.
Yep. Yep. Don't overthink it. Incremental. So it's basically it's the same pond, right? Just a different time frame. So we'd want to use incremental. So now it's asking us to calculate for these data from our data set. Go ahead and you'll be able, now that we've got the frequencies, it should be a lot easier to calculate this quickly. And so you're going to first calculate the incremental values and then the traditional ones. Remember, these are largemouth bass, and if you need to, you can go back to this row in the database, right? This in the table that was our original like stock versus memorable and everything for these thresholds. So that's how we got the 20, 30, 38, 51, 63, right? Any of these values looking similar so far? Am I calculating these right? Right. You guys still working or just kind of looking right? I honestly don't know. I don't have an answer key for any of these labs. I'm just figuring out as I go. So if anyone sees anything glaringly wrong, please let me know. So how did you guys calculate the incremental ones to start with? How do we do that? So we took the number in that range, right? Which was nice because we already had a frequency. And then we do that by the total number of fish, like our value that's greater than or equal to the stock length, which for this case is 135. Were you at 136? I must have missed a value somewhere in there, 136. Anyhow, the values will come out like pretty darn similar regardless for all of these. That's why I might be like off a number for some of you guys's. But yeah, so basically like you would do like the 5 divided by 136 times 100, 63 divided by 136 plus 100, that kind of thing for the frequency. That's for the incremental ones, right? Then how do we do it differently for the traditional ones? So remember, for these, we're still dividing by the same value. We're always dividing by the number that are greater than or equal to stock length. But for these guys, it's like the total number. It's not just the range within like a set window. It's the total number greater than the quality length. And so for that case, the number greater than that would be, let's see, because quality length was like the 20 to 30, right, for these, or is that preferred? Trying to remember here. Yeah, that would be greater than like the 30 inches or whatever. So hopefully I did that right. And then so on. So basically when we get all the way up to like the trophy fish, we've got like 4 in the memorable range. And we should only have like the 1 or whatever in the top. So the final question is, why might our data collected from this pond be highly biased, making these indices useless if we wanted to compare this data to a pond Eli Sprinkle might sample? What are some things that could create bias in this data set? Catchability among size classes, very good. Yes, so different gear types. We are limited to only comparing using like a single gear type, right? But some gears select for certain sizes and are less great, or capture efficiency differs for smaller sizes, right? So that's a huge issue. We modified the recaptured so we don't count those individuals twice there. And so that was one way that we reduced a little bit of bias from it. But yeah, definitely gear type is a huge issue. So that's why we use indices, right? Like we're using various indices because there are all these assumptions that we make with each of these gear types, right? With each of these analyses. And we kind of just have to find the most readily available, easiest to use indices to be able to compare or to answer our question. So if our question is just comparing within years, that's why we're using the incremental ones, the ranges, versus if we wanted to compare across impoundments, that's why we're using those traditional ones. So it all depends on your question, right? Whether or not you want to compare across impoundments or within a single one. But yeah, like the bias thing, the size, selectivity thing of the gear definitely influences like what we're going to be able to collect. Okay, so that was lab 4. We're not going to have like an assignment for you guys to turn in for this one, but we will do a quiz next week, practicing this stuff again, similar to the one today. How'd you guys feel about the one today? Right length, pretty tractable.
I've just done the exact same thing like 20 minutes before.
There you go. It was,
I literally did the entire stuff. Trevor and I both did the entire assignment wrong, and then we were talking about it before like this class. We were like, oh, this is definitely not how this is.
okay. Yeah, I like glanced over what you guys just both sent me, and I was like, checks out. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you talked.
Well, initially we got it wrong, so like we didn't group them for like,
Right.
so like there was 3 samples.
We did calculate
We calculated
it
it out.
sum x squared by taking each
Uh,
individual x
and then you did it,
then like
rather than the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than doing it by
I was actually in the
Yeah.
middle of doing my crayfish data for heat, and I was like, wait a minute, I did that wrong. I figured out how to do it.
yeah, it made a lot more sense the second time around.
I was like, we should
consider
consider.
both of the second one.
Okay.
The 2 first ones, that doesn't seem.
Cool. Okay, so now that we've gotten through that, let's see here. I can go through and like post those values, like whatever, like go back through, check all of my math on these, and then like post them so you have them to study from. But the last thing that we were going to do today was mount otoliths and like start sectioning them. Actually, just mount them. We weren't going to like cut or anything today. So I don't know. Do we have a bunch of epoxy lying around? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the bottles that Keith brought down quite a bit,
Okay.
enough to do, I think, all of this week.
All right. Would you be willing to like help me do that? Do you guys want to see that? Anybody that wants to see how we set them, like I'm not going to make you guys like stick around for this because the fun part is going to be when we're like sectioning them and looking at them like the next week coming up. But we need to like it's going to take us 10 minutes to like get over there, get them and come back and everything. But if you guys want to like take a bathroom break, chill, if anybody,
Sectioning in class.
that's a good question. So like Keith was supposed to be here today. Like originally, I think he forgot in our last Zoom call, like that he volunteered to take all the gear over and like kind of like pop into lab and say hi and help us with that. And I think he just like, I should have emailed him to remind him. Anyhow, so we can go ahead and like go grab those. I can get my keys to lab and stuff. But yeah, for anybody that like wants to stick around, doesn't have a ton of like homework, labs, or tests, you know, if you want to work on that kind of stuff right now, while we go get the stuff, we're just gonna go ahead. We've got like what 18 otoliths or so. We're not gonna do the like greenies because like you're working on those that we collected from that day, but we'll just do the bass that we collected. Okay. Yes. Yep. Anybody that wants to come for a walk can join us. But anyway, we'll be back.
Because I was under the last so like the last 2 weeks. Well, we have a so I've been thinking about like supplements. I'm just taking it L. I'm not. It always goes higher.
No, I have that say like during the not say it or I'm guessing it does. It's effectively so I'm just trying to. I guess I'm just getting
Aaron, you missed I was drinking all the last Wednesdays, like I'll come on like Wednesday at like,
I just looked at
9:30 and I'll be done by 10.
Yeah,
not that hard, like,
It's just
It's like you can just go and I'll sit there and do all. I got some other stuff, do all that. Like,
Usually so burnt out after the 3 hours and I'm just like, literally rather.
Well, although the last lab, we finished it for classes and everything. Yes, the
Last
last.
week's. Was like,
We were doing. Actually, well.
did we return to
Or no, yeah, we did.
You're just talking about the lab.
Yeah,
It was like, that was
but.
cool.
It was, you had like 2 balls.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, that's it.
Well, I literally did, talk to James and no one was there. I was like, hey, this all we have to do. He's like, yep. And that's how this week's one is.
Good.
It's like, real simple.
You already said it.
I didn't do this week's lab.
I haven't finished the one to do.
I have like 3 things to finish now.
I remember.
I have to go back and like, skip to when I start talking. Last thing, I got it.
What was going to do it? Yes.
I'm thinking about doing it tonight when I get home. That way I don't have to, I don't have to worry about that. You can just study.
I guess we can have to do
Yeah, with the,
two or that.
I'm not, I mean, I'm a lot of if I can, I feel like I should be able to get in that class.
And so the ones that I do, look up the ones that I did, and then go back through.
I hate
I don't care, honestly, it's just like,
the only thing I like about it is just the control.
yeah, exactly, I don't like reading stuff. I think, but it's just like, at this point, so much shit is online. It's just like, we're-
I don't know about IT in the span.
I would love to go and just for shit.
I still need data sheets, I know that, but I just, I don't know.
Reading some Thursday, so I work literally clean lids and then 5.5 hours. I was just so pissed off. I was like terrible. I was like literally terrible. I was 5 hours of being shit that I did not do. And then he told me that they didn't know any other way to do it. Yeah, we tried it. I'm like, question, is that true? I don't really understand physically how to pull this off. They can push you on each level. There's no tanks above. And then look, you see all it's like this isn't this is fucking laboratory. I just like you can't.
Next thing you know, vision, jump right down.
I've those little infections in my eyes. I feel like it's that much of a logical leap to assume that massive amount of mold is going to be. This is impossible. Especially when the dude's like, we don't know any other way to do it. I was like, I feel like I figure out a better way to do it in 5 minutes. That's what I thought about.
Yeah, we did all.
I guess it's a lot.
Because visual, I think it's right.
Or it could just been when we did all the rest of this. So at least we actually, that there was supposed to be.
There's some great points. She asked me about this. She's like, is it shit enough on? Like, very good. I mean, mine's good. So for her, it's doing this. Like, yeah, she'll. This is like 2 October. They're like almost half to do this. Then this was, I fumbled one thing, like, and it's one of the call.
So it's good.
Well, it's like, yeah.
It's like to the end.
Okay, the X. Is it log based and CPU plus one?
I have no idea. I just. And that.
Because that should shift it like on the screen.
Yeah. I just knew this.
I wrote in plus one, and I was like, I think that's CPU. But one back. I couldn't.
So it's not something that's easier than the last
Yes. I mean, I thought my answers would be. And so I was like, man, I don't know, right? And so, Aaron and I had, we have to do something like, already. And then he stopped by. And he was like, this was like, we seem like the answer to me. Especially like, yeah, like talk about how it's like they wanted to, like, how they people, like, ones that really, people just want more. Like,
Are you talking about?
yeah, and my dad also said.
It's just like, yeah, well, it's just like more consider, also, I have to only talk about one of those videos is about like having massive down or like I couldn't hit anything to go full screen. And then like my data itself,
Oh, we're going.
yeah, that's really good. What your job is, and I was like, and it's not what you.
Yeah, mine was, I was like, shit.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So then I didn't know how to do it, and then so I started messing with the computer, and I was like, that's that. So now I went back
It's
and
really
really
simple.
back it all.
It's just like.
I mean, if you use
it.
it, if you use it, Instagram, it's fine.
Well, it's so simple. Instagram is a. Okay.
So you have this pretty stable. I mean, it looks like it's not small. Yeah, it's gonna.
True, yeah.
I mean, that's, we learned about those in our lecture.
Also, our role is that. Like, those computers at the firm, the next one up, quality was the read. So like that first bit is except for the. It's literally not considered all this, right?
Which one?
Like, if you even.
Well, I mean, so you have, yeah, that's how you calculate for, actually, maybe you don't. Yeah, you would, it's the first one, you know, the first one's 4. I think it's first one's 4.
Because, yeah, it's a.
Yeah. It would be 5 divided by 63 plus 9.
This is this. So, that's if you.
Maybe,
You know.
I mean,
The.
I'm just,
You're part of my.
Will be multiple in the class and not.
Honestly, I was noticing that like two, I was like, I think that it literally, from about 30 minutes after I wake up, I could really listen to it. Like 6 hours.
I mean, I didn't turn on
Woke up this morning, I turned the heater on this morning.
yeah, I kind of turned it on. I was like, all right, you know,
Yeah, when I woke up, I turned it on. So that, it needs to-
oh, I went off.
Exactly. I went off.
Oh, you know what?
I should have worn a sweatshirt. I like set up my car and I was like,
Well, I already placed some new on terms of located. I'm picking up the school today. I wrote my body.
also, my house is still just like,
I'm like 1.3.
oh, man, yeah, house. Right?
10-minute bike ride here. I was gonna live closer, but my roommates didn't move in the summer. I was like, well, summer jobs.
Yeah. I live in a farm or something.
No, they live in KC.
That's stupid.
If they did one, there is like
After school.
Yeah, after
They moved
school.
after that.
yeah. Which I mean, I get it.
You
But
know,
our
they've been
roommates-
taking like a year to get to the house.
Yeah, and so like my stuff, we all were actually next month. So we'll only be paying for 2 extra months. Or something like that.
I'm hoping when they-
But now they're paying for. I had lived on someone and all that.
It's also nice to find this movie always.
I don't know. No.
That's just a form for last second. Years. Yeah. And then that was last. Is your dad really got that place now then?
Oh, yeah.
Those, I told him no. Because I knew it would danger to do anything that cost.
That's why,
But now it's not hitting the bottom because.
no, you're coming from the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all the bars are.
No.
So, no, so dogs and dogs, you can dance, you can't dance.
Dogs that can.
So there's just like no reason.
Yeah, so Johnny Cars, dogs.
You know what?
Dogs go to pound, dogs want to.
Well, the only thing you can do inside of it is bring food, you can't dance, because you can't be close to that.
There's only 200 people in there.
Yeah, let's stop it.
It's like middle of July. Say 2 weeks ago, they're still.
Because I have friends last night that were going, and they're both one, and they got turned away. They're like, oh, you're not flying.
Like, I'm sure there's like the regulation of policy and then reality.
Yeah. So yeah, they got turned away.
They're not in the hospital.
I'm not sure y'all are.
I think it says it's best for keep kind of made out of that. Oh, we can see it. All right. The other one would be when you talk about
It's a fix.
so, yeah. Just so that. Yeah.
All right, everybody.
That's also. Oh, we need this.
I guess that's not even. I don't know why. I wonder who like is responsible for this. Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is like in their. Oh, we're getting that one. And
Well, and
oh, okay. Well, just add all. Oh, God. Use for references that have to use more than a show.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that you didn't want to say that.
You don't worry.
Also, like, it's pathetic, all of you remember, where I think you exceptions were the lead
No.
Oh, my God.
I think it was, you know, it's like a really bad music. That was like you went in the whole time. Yeah, but like I didn't know even.
What are you talking about?
Hey, you get that?
Yeah, so.
For the-
With Bart.
Oh, yeah.
You had it with the.
He wasn't, I guess I think one day, he was like.
Maybe I just didn't.
Yeah, he's supposed to just be a that semester and then pieces. You like, you got confused or decisions. or go into like be a professor or anything like that, you can say
Like literally.
like you need professor class, that's a huge.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like everybody that was easy to do.
That did not normally. These things like most of the time, the end is 4 5. Maybe technology.
That's
Yeah.
No, I saw.
Someone. Yeah, no, I don't think that. I'm guessing that's. Extraction. I know mine. People are using the reviews of papers and option the full papers. And then everyone, why is this paper? Yeah. Yeah. I'll pretty much all of them, I have one reason. We're
just let it check. Where was the drum only take 12 hours?
Well, it was because I over enrolled. I enrolled in like a bunch of stuff, and it was like if these classes end up being online, I'm copying them, and then I ended up copying them. I think all was what I was supposed to add back in, but I forgot.
In all fairness, you're not just a bunch of
I don't know, yeah, I heard that's just. It's not true.
It is.
It is.
Well, she's brand new. She's not.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah, it's the first semester. Like teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever the scientific name is.
This probably, yes, it's just what it is. Down the show. So it's like.
We talk about he makes about the same job. Okay, they causing population.
I got you. I feel like
Sometimes. So every time she's coming by, like I'll be like, brainstorming up with her, and I don't know, hey, is this how things but last time?
Well, this is
Which I did, because like, it's not really like for her to use this.
like Alice Bowl is the beach.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
And that's why the beach. She got signed.
oh, yeah, sure.
She was
So what exactly is that? Is it just like you want to take time off and you can talk to anybody and
It's actually. Even with that, maybe once my leave. Actually, my first year is that. Yeah, both of them. Still it takes that.
we're in C5.
What do you do? Keep us back this year. Well, no, we were just like that.
So you're like.
Probably C7.
Yeah, so I'm like.
So we're gonna, do a moment and leave, right? We have, So I was actually thinking, like,
In the,
and then camp.
what time? Somebody will have to go on Wednesday and then on Friday. It's like probably
Yeah, 6 minutes.
and then we'll come back.
Road. As long as you let it out. We just tell that anyone. And so I'm gonna email the full costs. Yeah. So I'm gonna just do it. Okay, so you open it and close it? Yes. Oh. I thought you had open it and just sit there and take all that. Oh,
I don't know. It was like 1,600. Yes.
I think,
So do you just like X out the tab and go back in and hit delete?
I, that's just a thing.
And like you'll walk out sometimes.
Because if that's the case,
You just get rid of it now.
yeah.
It's not the same.
Still need
So that's what, so that I never, they just there. What, others that have used.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh, now, fill them, and then slowly learn. Yes. And well, we were supposed to be fishing for, sorry, we were fishing.
Yeah.
Super small. It's insane hard. Yeah, kind of.
So, yeah. So we started and they should not go to. That's what they're doing now. Not a Milford men who are book now. You can find like some. Do I really want to? For this, absolutely.
that's the one, I mean, now that we like, we probably used it. In-
Oh, we're just trying.
Well, so, when we went to originally do this, we put it in a big storage. And instead of going it out to the storage, or he poured it in, and then instead of like turning it upwards and allowing the air to leak out. One, or push the air out, he just started pushing on it. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not too much. Texas. Yeah.
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 But it's just like, it's just, it's not like corporate.
And then we want to yeah. What else?
We can just go off. As I, well, really listen.
You can't really move it.
As I,
Well, we put it, you have put it on the table where it's definitely. Yeah.
Hey, we should be doing it here, and then realize that you've been speaking for hours. And I was like, so I'll go.
Yeah, I think you remember.
Is it lockers and
I just put mention a lot. I was like, I'm just gonna guess.
I put L in it first.
I wasn't sure.
I'm gonna give half.
Yeah, you can.
Also, like everybody.
Oh, yeah.
It does not look like that.
It's still. My third thing is when I'm still great for kids.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's not.
Although every time we get the old on anything, because I grade drops.
Yeah. You guys just keep overachieving.
Well, my dad actually asked me some grades for insurance. And they just put me back on. And he was like, all right, you want to help you along. Oh, not even that. It's just fun. Come on.
Next few weeks.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Or we can never help.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm now, I never turned 6, so
But that, it doesn't.
oh, yeah, because like for grad students, this is great, get this. So like, we pay, typically about $200 a semester for for this semester. We are not, and then you pay sometimes. But like, there is no insurance from the day of finals to the day of the results. So like, oh yeah, like it's not really the end of the year. It is like students' finals, like December 13th, 16th, whatever it is this year. Like I'm uninsured.
It's like the
So like, I mean, some grad students do research.
yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Oh. Yes.
Don't spend another 5 hours.
Make sure you open up the,
Dude,
that's just.
I am very one. I like to also do all.
Yeah.
It's just annoying. I get like undermined by other people who also do surveys. Like the greenhouse is US. It's so like the longer things to do on, and like so you have to open the windows and try to get the perfect balance. And so like, even today it's 40 degrees outside and I shovel and goes in and put up like
Is it because it's just older?
it's not, it's because of the system of that. There's like regulators, like it's literally the steam behind it. Valves, like the valves are obviously supposed to open and close based on the temperature, but they're just stuck. There's like one that's stuck closed. So you get cold spots in it. It's just like it's like either the windows have to be cracked, and it's like a little bit too cold, like more acceptable, or the windows are closed.
I honestly thought like I was not. I thought.
This much money.
New trees. All right, I'm gonna get that.
Yeah. you like, well,
No, I have my. Because I was going to bike to school this morning, checked the temperature when I got here, it dropped 3 degrees.
I'm all about that.
Oh, I was so cold this morning, right? And I was like,
Literally just have to make it from here to the parking lot.
well, on the bright side, I'll be driving Tuesday, Wednesday, and probably Thursday, Friday, because it's supposed to rain and or snow. This week. Yeah.
And then this week is supposed to.
This weekend, Sunday, we could get snow. Just saying.
You know us?
No,
No, the out west stuff is.
I think it's mostly rain up there, but
It's
here.
Come north and you want to move up west.
Yes, Cassidy.
That's like straight.
Do you know Jeff on pieces?
No, I don't know. It's like casing up a viewer, nobody knows what we.
I know where people live that. But I also know where Jeff is. But yeah, no, so we're going pretty much straight west, not too far north.
I said, it's also not going too much farther.
Well, we just need,
Yes, yeah.
right, Liz? We're doing meat first. Let's go.
We're gonna do better.
That's true.
Both of them are like after 4 hours. So 4 hours.
Part?
So
Two, yeah.
I'm guessing because of COVID. Also, I don't know.
Jammore definitely is because it's better money, but that shouldn't be open season yet.
Well, yeah, that's opened up last week, or 2 weeks, last week.
Although drops really haven't been that strong the past 3-4 years.
Yeah, it's gonna take, this, we need to snow this.
We need more D's, but not snow. They're fun to shoot.
They are definitely not.
No, considering just like saying, oh, this is it's an awkward fucking position, because it's like, I have this exam on Wednesday, so like, I can't work until 10 p.m. tonight and then not study at all for the exam. But like, if I don't do water changes in the beginning of the week, I'm not gonna be able to do it.
If you just change it, what if you change my house?
I don't know about it. I mean, I can do like 2, but it takes fucking forever. And then we have that thing.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm gonna go home.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, you too.